But, you know, obviously there's a passion behind this, and look, that's what the whole team has, right? The biggest hack for a Bitcoin company ever is that your company culture is Bitcoin. So I don't think we're like the best managed company in the world, but you know what our company culture is? It's the values of Bitcoin. It's perfect. What a perfect filter for people that come in. What a perfect filter for what we believe in. We have people work all around the world at our company are totally different. There's such a level of kind of respect and conversation that automatically happens because we value Bitcoin, that, you know, you're looking at someone who you're working with, you have the same passion, you're doing, you know, you care about the same things, you value these certain things, these kind of core principles that kind of Bitcoin that are with individuals, but yet everyone's different.
So we got Mike, president of Bitcoin Magazine, here to talk about the new line of Bitcoin Beach Ordinals that we're launching today. We're obviously joking, but excited to have Mike and his family joining us here for the Bitcoin halving week. We're, I guess, a couple weeks early technically, but it's a lot of fun in El Salvador seeing Bitcoiners from around the world come down, and it's fun to meet your wife and kids and see how much they love El Salvador already. So
yeah, I think that's really a great way to kind of cause a lot of problems for me and my family, that take us to a beautiful place, meet some beautiful people, have my kids think that this is what Bitcoin's like all over the world, and then have them keep asking for me to come back. So this was really a plan for you just to force me to have to keep coming back.
Well, you saw your son earlier. He already said, so next time we come back, we're staying here with you guys, right? So
Yes.
It's already locked in.
It was wonderful. Yeah, no. Look, the having party in El Salvador, once I saw that, I thought, not only was it impressive and exciting, I wanted to be part of it, but it happened at time perfectly for my kids' spring break.
My wife was asking, she's like, well, are his kids off school or they just pull them out? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, how do you not ask these things? I'm like, those are not man things that you ask.
Spring break happened, and it was funny because Roman convinced my wife at the last conference, like, you gotta come down to El Salvador. It's totally great. You should come down. And he was, you know, he was slinging it hard.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I think we decided, okay, my wife's like, we should do that for spring break, and it lined up with the having part. I was like, yes, perfect. So it was the family makes a perfect excuse for you to do things. So I'm happy you're here. Thank you for letting us stay, and we're excited for our time here in El Zonte before the party.
Well, it's fun. It's been fun for me, even, you know, picking you guys up from the airport and hearing some of the history of Bitcoin Magazine and the conference, things that I didn't realize. So, but first, I'd love for you to give people a little bit about your history and kind of the unique way you came into the Bitcoin space. And we were talking about earlier how a lot of people underestimate how important the narrative and the marketing aspect of Bitcoin is. And so we'd love to have you speak to that.
Sure. You know what? It's always fascinating here. I guess Bitcoiners like to tell why they got to Bitcoin, right? And I think I'd rather tell like why I got to Bitcoin Magazine. And I think I had a unique life growing up where, you know, I was building websites and, you know, enjoyed doing that, build community websites, built the first social media agency when, you know, social media was supposed to be a way to connect people. And even worse, before that, I even was dumb enough to run for public office and used Facebook to get elected because I was going to really help, like really do some good. And I even made the mistake of trying to bring transparency. And I put a GPS in all the union cars to show where they were. And man, nothing pisses off a bunch of Democrats in Connecticut than putting GPS in all their union cars. So I lasted one term of office. But, you know, I was proud of it. I didn't kind of back down from some of those things. I think they were right, and they turned out to be right. And, you know, once again, kind of running that election proved that social media, I think, was going to be a big thing. Created the first agency for that. Loved it, built it, grew that as an exciting company. And then I remember early in our company, one of our guys, our CTO, was building this thing called Venmo. And I remember being like, this is going to be big, you know? And he would work 3 days for me, and the other 4 days, like him and his co-founder of Venmo would kind of build in our office. And we really saw the value of not just that's where I kind of started to learn into a little bit of like how actually money is transferred. Just seeing the fights that were happening with the bank was kind of interesting insight there.
Oh, they were probably having all issues with how they deal with all the regulations
Absolutely.
and moving money around.
Absolutely, right? Like what problem are they solving for, right? And so it was kind of fun to actually just watch them build that. And I was building, our business at a time, which we were excited about. I was proud to build a business, I take entrepreneurship very seriously. I think it's, a path, everyone talks about freedom and sovereignty, like be your own boss, then, you know what sovereignty, is really about. It's not, everyone thinks it's so wonderfully and sounds so great. It's like, okay, you got to be accountable for everything. So, I remember just, starting a business and, you pay all your employees, first. You pay yourself last, right? And you're sitting there like, oh shit, man, I got no money. What am I doing here? I'm working, I'm working 100 hours so I can get paid 0. But, look, built that company up. It was exciting. Got to work with some of the biggest brands in the world, which I enjoyed doing. I liked marketing. It was great storytelling. And, had a tech side of our company and had kind of that agency side of our company. And ended up selling to a company called Vice Media. I was a big fan at the time. Loved their storytelling. Thought no one told better stories than they did, and it was fascinating. They were also based in New York, and I think they were mad that we sold to other that we were helping other media companies grow. Everyone from kind of like the Netflix to Major League Baseball.com and I think The Onion, Adult Swim. We were helping media companies. We loved it. And I think they tried to like get in a bar fight with us at Vice. It was very Brooklyn-y, but we ended up selling our company to them. And at the time it was great. So I did that in kind of 2014, 13. And when I was there, ran into David Bailey and the folks over at Bitcoin
So what
Magazine.
were you doing at Vice? What was your role there?
Yeah, sure. So I was the chief digital officer.
Okay.
So Vice obviously was getting, part of it was the growth of our digital presence, how the media was then distributed, monetized, and partnerships. So, at the time, I think we were doing some pretty groundbreaking stuff. If you look at what happened with YouTube, when they were saying just put little clips in, Vice was the first to say, let's do like 10-minute long videos, like here's a video of us going to Chirac, or take acid and go to the dog show, which I thought was always still one of my favorite videos. And then once again, if you're doing partnership with Snapchat at the time, this is kind of where I think the media company, the platforms were really trying to fight for original content. So it was an exciting time. Continued to kind of build that, did that for 4 years. But when I was there, I ran into David Bailey and the BTC Inc. team and the folks who were kind of working on Bitcoin Magazine and everything else they were working on. And I kind of fell in love with it. I immediately fell in love. Obviously, Vice.
Like, were you already a Bitcoiner at that point, or you just?
Yeah. So, I mean, I hate always telling the story like you buy Bitcoin to buy drugs originally, but that's like everyone who doesn't tell you that story is a liar. So, and especially working at Vice, it's kind of like, ooh. And then Vice had reported on Bitcoin really early on, but I think I always laughed that like the best financial decision I ever made was try to buy drugs and fuck it up. And so my mom really hates hearing that, but did not obviously appreciate Bitcoin. And originally, once again, I had a lot of financial security. I lived in the U.S.
Yeah.
I was great.
So you and Peter McCormick have all these parallels. Like, you both
do we
come
really?
from the marketing side. You both got into it because you were trying to buy drugs.
I know it's so cringy. But I think, and even worse actually was I had just sold my company in 2013, so I was like, I know what I'm doing. You're poor, you start, like, no, everyone says you're wrong, and you build it up, and you sound like, I know what I'm doing. I'm so smart. Look at me. And then always, like, kids you went to school with want to be, like, financial money managers. I'm like, I don't trust you for shit. You cheated off my test. You said what I was doing. And I was arrogant, right? Yeah. I mean, and the funny thing is, I think if I never sold my company, I would be, like, much better off in Bitcoin because I wouldn't have been like, I wouldn't have said, I figured this whole thing out. I'm so smart. And in reality, that was, like, the worst financial thing I ever did, was kind of think I was smart. And so, look, I enjoyed Vice. It was a global company. It was one of the biggest media companies in the world. At the point, and it was really groundbreaking. And it was
so. A funny aside on that, they came down and did a story on the Bitcoin Beach project.
They did
really early on. They
Yes.
were one of the first that did like a full feature video. And Roman, I wasn't here at the time. They did a feature with me, but they went to my place in the U.S. to do it. But Roman was filming on his phone while they were filming the Ministry of Tourism. And they just happened to run into her, I think it was at a surf event or something. And they started asking her about Bitcoin. And she was like, before when we had talked to her, she had always been kind of like, would change the subject or wouldn't. And she starts talking like no, we think Bitcoin's very positive. And I was like, wait, something's going on there. Like something's gotten shaken up in the government. There's no way that she's doing this on her own. She must have got the word that, you know, Bitcoin is something the government's going to do something with. And so that was kind of funny how Vice was the one that uncovered that for me. And then on
the that's good to hear for you. But on the reverse, you know, Vice covered Bitcoin all the time as like being this really cool way and to purchase things and freedom. And then of course, when I started working for the company, when Vice came to report on the Bitcoin conference in 21, the reporter had, I think, 7 masks on, like wouldn't walk inside. They asked for like 20 press passes. And like one article came out saying like, people are going to die and we're so sad and this is wrong. And I was like, wow, Vice, you really lost the fucking script there, you know? So like, you know, you were literally willing to go to North Korea.
You're not the one that made Vice woke. You weren't the
no,
we can't blame that on you.
I don't know. Some people might think, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you go woke, you go broke. And I went broke too because I owned a lot of stock in Vice for some of my companies, so it sucked for me. But, you know, yeah, look, I think they lost their way a little bit. Yeah. And that can happen to media companies. Media companies can lose their way, and it's a disaster. And
do you think that usually happens from the top, or do you think what I've seen is in a lot of these companies, it seems it happens from the bottom or the middle a lot of times, that the people are pushing and the people at the top just don't want to deal with it. So they just placate them and say, yeah, fine, report on that way. Or what's your take on it?
Man, I feel like you're setting me up for a trap here. No.
I'm not talking about Bitcoin Magazine. I'm talking about just in general.
No. So for my work with media companies, and I've seen some great ones. I've seen some, you know, there's the startups. I mean, I think I built BuzzFeed's first like iPad app back in the day. Like I remember talking to Jonah Peretti. Like I was like, and you built something for The Onion. I remember that. And what ends up happening for these, you know, especially for some companies, is you can be nimble, and the people that are working on it are so connected to what's actually happening that they're actually part of that culture that they're reporting on. And the problem is, as you get bigger, people expect you to, whether that's be more commercial or more professional, or you try to bring in people who've done it before, they get removed from the culture that they're reporting on. Yeah. And so, you know, that grasp isn't there. And then the cost.
They didn't grow up in it. It's not ingrained in their DNA.
But then the cost of it to actually produce all that content just balloons to a point where then all of a sudden, you know, once again, if you have people who are passionate about the space and they're writing and they're contributing, okay, you can keep costs kind of low because it's something that they want to work on. Well, now, okay, well, we got to get some more professionals because we're trying to get to the next level. And then the costs come up. And then even more costs come up, get later on. As you know, someone who's running a business, it can balloon. So now you're looking at the amount of money you have to make to become profitable is so large. And then once again, it could be mistakes made by the people in charge about what they want to do, how to monetize it. And that's always been a problem. I mean, like, we're looking at what I find interesting with Bitcoiners is they will sit down and analyze Bitcoin to the 1/100th of a penny of when to buy and arbitrage and how to get electricity from data from mining. Like, but they'll never, you know, no one will ever have a conversation about where they get their content from and how it's monetized, right? Like, that's like, oh, no, media grows on trees and it should just happen and no one should make money on anything with that, right? But everything else is about money. You know, it's like this John Galt type of, you know, talk while, you know, you sit there and want to get all your media for free. Like, it's kind of silly. And obviously that's the world I come from. It's like, you know, understanding. I looked at advertising as, and when I sold my company, I was like, hey, for every dollar that we bring in advertising, this allows us to tell stories. Like, we're not the journalists, like, we're not the ones risking our lives, but, you know, we're able to finance these important stories, and that's an important balance. That's personally something I do believe. I believe very strongly, always have, and, you know, that's more important now than it is ever. I mean, so
you back to your history. So you saw what Bitcoin Magazine was doing, and you said, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, I tried to buy their company advice. Okay. So 2 things: good thing they didn't sell, and good thing we didn't buy. But no, I thought, because once again, Vice also had a print publication, which is, you know, was pretty groundbreaking what they were doing there. And I said, look, we're already printing. Why don't we kind of take over these media operations? I remember we had like a team of like 60 people in our ad ops or media ops, right? Like, that's bigger than the entire Bitcoin Magazine team is now, just to run media ops. And it just seemed like a beautiful kind of balance. We could do that. Things didn't go. I ended up leaving Vice. We don't buy them.
So David said no, obviously.
A lot of unique things happen. I left the company, not positive things. And
advice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And kind of left that, and, you know, took some time off with the family and traveled, and And, once again, you run a company and you never take a day off ever. You work nonstop. And then all of a sudden, you're in a position where you can take some time and understand what's important. And it's also very humbling too when you do that. I mean, New York and the media scene, especially for such an exciting company, there's so many things happening. It's like it's addicting. Like this is now and the next.
You can get an invite to anywhere. You get in anywhere.
Cool, anywhere. Like the stories are just, and the stories were fun. They were insane. But I think where it helped me was that none of it seemed, everything we're doing with Bitcoin, none of it seems insane. Like I'm like, oh, we've done that before. This seems quite normal, or the kind of the increase in the rise, and especially whether that was Advice or other companies, whether you sit there and you watch Venmo get built from the start, and you're now seeing that everyone just uses that for some of the things that we built for everything from Red Bull to Rolex. We helped work for. So it was exciting to see, and it's fun to do that. But to take time off, and my kids were 5 and 3, and kind of travel the world a little bit, and you're like, oh, that's more important than all this other shit. So that was fun, and look, I took some time off. I was building a home and enjoying that, and always, I really respected what David was doing. Thought it was an important space. You can tell the passion. You talk to David, you can tell he just absolutely loves it, right? He co-founded the company with his mom, and just like
I remember seeing his mom in
the
conference. I think it was the second one. Was that the 2021?
21, yeah.
21. His mom was out there because the lines were like 2 hours to get into the conference, and his mom was out there talking to people. Hey, we're sorry that. I mean, you could just tell they had this like. I'm like, this is awesome. His mom's out there like working the crowd, and
Callie Bailey still gets in my Slack and asks me questions. So I'll get a Slack message from Callie Bailey, be like, "Hey, why are we doing this or why are we doing that?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, talk to him. Like, "Oh shit, what just happened? Like, what's going on? I need the numbers. I need to, So. Look, I think that's grounding. I think it's grounding in family. Like there's a big family element towards BTC Inc., which is the parent company, obviously, that probably doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion, but it was the number one driver why I wanted to then go work at the company. So, I showed up kind of before the 21 conference. I was just catching up with David, always, once again, a fan of any media. And, I remember walking into their office in Nashville, and, there's... and you can just tell looking at the team, I'm like, oh, this thing's about to happen. Like something is changing here. And for me, I kind of bet my career on it, whether that was, when I started looking at Facebook the first time saying, this is it.
Yeah.
And running for political office on Facebook, being the first person elected or creating the first, these moments where you're like, oh, this is happening. And, luckily, since I had a relationship with the guys, I wasn't some outsider coming in. I was someone who had always helped talk to them or done, certain things. And I was like, oh, hey, this conference is going to be big. Let me just help. I was just a friend. I'm like, let me just help on some things. And was just kind of behind the scenes.
Before the 21 conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was just like, let me just help. Let me just be there. You guys got a lot going on, it looks like. And, it was just kind of behind the scenes helping a little bit. And then obviously 21 hit, and it was it was like a baptism. Right, like it was
like being at Woodstock or something. I mean, it was like one of those. Like if you were there, you'll always remember it.
Everyone will remember.
Yeah.
Right, and for me, I guess, obviously, I cared about Bitcoin. Obviously, I cared about what this company was doing. But I don't think I realized. And when you invest in community, sometimes you get hurt by them. Sometimes you might not open up. And I was probably pretty closed down for a couple of years after kind of my last tour. And then when I looked at the Bitcoin community, it was actually after the El Salvador announcement when we had this after party. And once again, we hit so many people that our systems were broken and we couldn't scan badges, right? It's like if people come in and it starts raining, and Justin, who did a great job really kind of making a conference come out of nothing and an amazing job running it. Him and I are standing out in the rain, and it was for me, it was the moment that I was like, okay, I want to be part of this. I'm we're checking wristbands, but our systems are down, so we have our phones out and fake scanning cards, I'm like, you're allowed to come in. And there was a bunch of very attractive women who showed up were me, and I'm like, nope, your pass doesn't work. We made them stand over there, and some nerdier guys came in, oh, you can come in. We're allowed in. This never happens in Miami. Everyone's screaming at us. It's raining, and people coming in, and they're so excited, and all these guys are everyone's running around taking their clothes off. Not too much. It was Miami is a bunch of probably guys who just eat meat and do hundreds of thousands of push-ups. They were kind of dancing around in the rain. I'm like, holy shit, this was a baptism. This is exciting, and it was it was fun to just see the release from everyone who worked so hard on it. And the community wanted it. I mean, there was packed. I mean, it was 12 to 14,000 people. It was Wynwood, where we had in Miami, was absolutely packed.
Wasn't it supposed to be like half that size? And then
Yeah,
it was,
we would probably violate every fire code there was. No, we didn't. And then, you take a look at it, and it just the energy was there, just the energy. And I remember, for some of the earlier things I developed, I was like, wow, here's some of the smart people who are passionate. Like this is kind of a chemistry and a formula that always has worked. And I felt that kind of back to that passion of like, okay, this is a fight that I want to be part of, and this is a community that is, has something quite special. And probably the concerns I had for the other things I was involved in didn't happen. There is no CEO of Bitcoin. There's no one to, overvalue the company and not take a deal from Disney and destroy it. Or like, there's no Mark Zuckerberg who's, gonna, I don't know, try to sell all your data to take over the world. But, Bitcoin, and also had the right, I think, dynamics and community. Once again, I was involved in politics, and so I had the political side, it had the media side. And the one side that I thought was most important was the marketing side and the branding side that honestly no one in Bitcoin is even looking at.
Yeah.
So I thought that was one of the biggest values that I've read and listened to, a trillion podcasts and a million books. No one ever talks the Bitcoin brand itself, which I think is one of the most magical parts about Bitcoin. And I thought there was a place for me to kind of help with that. And I know the value of telling stories. I know the value that and the importance of being able to build an independent media company is, how any community desperately needs that voice. And we can't just allow a bunch of companies to make blog posts that are that are already and there's nothing wrong against that. But if every company is the only one giving you media in the space, then that's not a good recipe, right? And so there is a real importance of Bitcoin Magazine. Bitcoin Magazine has been dead and come back from the dead numerous times.
Just like Bitcoin.
Just like Bitcoin. And, I'm not the owner of Bitcoin Magazine. I'm just the current caretaker, and so I take that role extremely seriously. CK did an amazing job kind of before me and brought me in and helped me. And, I was so lucky to kind of work with him. I knew the media side, and he obviously knew the Bitcoin side, and truly I think inserted an important value into what we were doing there. And there'll be someone 10 times better than me who's going to take over, and run Bitcoin Magazine after I'm gone. So and that's my job, is to make sure that handoff happens and make sure the brand is where it should be, and to make sure it's still a place for these important stories. I mean, sometimes I maybe get a little bit frustrated, but I look back, I'm like, we might not have owned it when the Bitcoin Magazine first started, but we took care of that archive. We're the archive of Bitcoin. I look back at some of these old stories, I'm like, there's Vitalik interviewing Brian Armstrong and being like, well, I'm going to start this new website called Coinbase, and you can buy something on it. Here's my email. Email me Brian at Coinbase. I might do marketing someday. And I'm looking at this what an unbelievably important article. And everyone is going to tell you, Bitcoin's going to make $1 trillion, it's going to take over the whole world. I'm like, cool. So why were we not preserving that history? And so Bitcoin Magazine has an important role in that. And you don't always have to agree with Bitcoin Magazine, and I don't think it's always healthy to 100% agree with any media company that you're supposed to have.
Well, really, it shouldn't agree with itself. It should contain
Correct.
articles that have contradict or take both sides of it. And I think you guys do a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, look, and we try, and there's the balance, right? You have reporters and you have contributors, and I think something we need to probably make sure wanted to make sure any kind of listener understands is contributors are important ecosystem here. And if you look at people who've written for Bitcoin Magazine, we've been the home for a lot of these, I think, important stories that have been part of the history of what's happened in Bitcoin. Some of the biggest names have been able to kind of get their opinion piece or kind of unique research out there.
Yeah.
That, to be honest, CoinDesk or Cointelegraph, they're not going to have that. They're going to talk about Polkadot's price or whatever else like that. And I get it, fine. That's their business model, right? They get more page views than me, so I guess they're doing better. But what are they talking about? Fine, right? We have to talk. There's a lot more history, and the culture of what Bitcoin is actually doing is important too. Yeah. So our contributors are important, and we try to encourage more of that. I think we're trying to get better writers, maybe veteran writers who have more history. Funding investigative journalism is the reason why it doesn't exist in the rest of the media world, is because it's almost impossible. And so we're lucky that we, I'm fortunate that someone pays, $21 an issue, right? And this is like a coffee table, beautiful mag, right? We are so lucky that people pay for this subscription. That allows us then to invest in long-form journalism that no one else is, hands down. So we owe it to the community, right? We put every penny that we make, and then we take a lot of David's pennies to put into the company to be able to make this a media company. People can shrug off, a story or say like, hey man, I'll have my buddy blog about that, and that's okay. If you have an independent media company, this gives us a battering ram to go after and not only tell important stories, but be able to put ourselves in a position to protect the reporters that are writing about this, puts us in a position to ask the tough questions and ask tough questions of government that, I'm sorry, if you're just a little Twitter person, you're not going to have that same balance. I mean, it's annoying, but I remember when it was during Holland's trial, someone had to go in, that trial was going to be recorded. That Craig Wright trial was going to be recorded. And CoinGeek, because, they're financed by, whatever his name is, I forget his name. The guy does all the weird stuff in St. Bart's.
I don't know.
Forget your name.
It's not Calvin, is it?
That guy. I don't like that guy. That guy's got CoinGeek, and which is he pretends is a media company, right? But it's not.
Yeah.
And he financed, he was going to finance recording that trial, and I knew what CoinGeek was going to do. They were going to just show Holland's face. They were going to just to get that video, and so we at Bitcoin Magazine, when we decided we were going to cover that trial, we had to go to the Norwegian courts. We had to fight with the courts to be able to sit there and say we're a more independent media outlet, right? That can record this. We had to spend a tremendous amount of money to actually go out there to record it. You have a 4-person team that you have out there for 2 weeks, right? That cost you money. We didn't really have the best journalist for legal review stuff. And Mills is amazing, and she did an absolutely amazing job kind of spearheading this project, and had to sub in as kind of this court reporter, which was I think it's her true calling. But we had to capture all that video, and then we had to syndicate that out to the rest of the media companies immediately. Now, we chose to blur out Holland's face, which made someone really angry. But, that is that's an investment you have to make. So let's say we put about $80,000 worth of time preparing for the trial, filming the trial, getting that out there, cutting that up, having to distribute to all the media companies, the lawyers that review everything that we were doing, the times that we spent in the Norwegian court to fight back and forth, to sit there and for us to be the ones that could actually record it to then give it out. How much money did we make on YouTube for the views we got, or page views? $118, right? It doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the Norwegian trial, Holland was the one time we could have video. We have video of Craig Wright in the stand. We recorded that whole thing. We put the whole thing out there, right? Then none of the other trials have video, right? I'm happy that other people cover the other trials. They should. I mean, the Copa case, they absolutely should. I mean, I'm embarrassed because we couldn't, the tornado mixing case recently that came up, we couldn't cover that. We didn't have the funds, we didn't have the right people in position. That's a more important case, in my opinion, than anything else. And so, once again, how are you going to make that investment in this? How can you balance off the time that not just getting people to write free articles, but you're talking about, legal fees and airports and, making sure that, you're having certain, everything from what video equipment you use to the feeds. And so there's a lot that goes into that, and you have to know when to pick your fights and pick your battles. But, that was absolutely something that needed to be reported on. That was absolutely something that was important in the timeline. And that was something we really felt passionate that we had a chance to record. And once again, I would have been happy if we found out that Craig was really Satoshi and he signed those things, but he just didn't, and you looked at him and you watched that video, wow, that guy's crazy. And you realize that, and did that help with the other trials?
It's amazing how much damage he was able to do to so many people's lives before he finally had his downfall recently.
I mean, how is he not the enemy? How is he not the baddest of bad guys? He's like, he's a
psychopath.
He's like Thanos on the spectrum, without any actual skills. So it was, that was important. I mean, we watched about how that was just attacking, and just, once again, people attack sometimes. You have a right to be critical, and that's something that Bitcoin does very well. But you looked at some of this and just the way that he was kind of attacking, just sucking the energy out of good people that were trying to do things. I mean, I'm happy that, that we don't have to worry about that anymore. But there was, if you look at how much money and time and energy, the saddest thing is how much money, time, and energy had to go into defending, this loser.
No, it impacted a lot of people's lives in like real ways.
And look, and the best thing about it was like Hodlnaut was legitimately the person who had the greatest, like has Bitcoin's values, is like a true symbol of Bitcoin's values and morals, versus the person who absolutely doesn't, and like everything that Bitcoin stands against. It was it's the perfect story, right? Like, and once again, I don't think Hodlnaut wanted to do that. Like, we got involved, obviously, the Citadel, and there's some cool stuff he's done in the media, right? We're not like, that person's a competitor. We're like, no, this person's right. And like, why is this person taking all the, taking all the arrows and all the heat? And let's be honest, no one wanted to cover that trial. Cointelegraph doesn't cover that trial. They were afraid to say anything about Craig Wright. They were afraid of getting sued.
I bet, because he would just file suit against anybody.
We had everyone afraid of getting sued. No one wanted to cover it. What happened at every one of his trials? No one covers it. They just wait for CoinGeek to give out a press release, and then NBC is like, oh, the guy who says he's Satoshi got fined by Florida court. So once again, people were afraid.
Yeah.
Now, we're lucky. You might not love everything that we stand for, but guess what? A media company based in Nashville with, a founder like David who's like, fuck you, let's go. And also, half of our company that we're all American citizens, so First Amendment, that we're like, hey, we're working on this. We made sure that people who are international didn't work on this because, we want to try to protect them.
So they don't get pulled in British courts.
Somewhere. Right. And the rest of us were like, sharpening our sword, like, come at me, bro. Like, let's go. Like, we would love to have this fight.
That was learning experience for me to realize how crazy the laws are in the UK and some of these other places. I was like, what?
I mean, look, and here's the other, you asked maybe before about what changes companies. Well, then it's the legal part of this, right? So if you want to have a blog and tell passionate stories, that's cool. No one's coming after you. You're a media company. You have a target on your back now. You have to be, you have to be more prepared for this.
You have to run things by the lawyers, and you have to,
And look, there's difference. Unfortunately, we do run things by lawyers. Lawyers usually say no on things. Like when FedNow, when we made a satire shirt, and then the Federal Reserve tried to sue us, and we were like, no, fuck you. Oh yeah. Some fun clothing. We were kind of making some comment on the FedNow coin, which looks like a Flonase ad. Speaking of shit brands, like it looks like that 24/7. It's the worst brand you've ever seen in your entire life, the FedNow logo. And then we made one that was satire of HBO's kind of Eye of Mordor, FedNow that Annabelle did an amazing job on. We put it out there, and they wrote to us like, well, people might be confused with your Bitcoin magazine and the Federal Reserve, the FedNow, the most important in how we track your life. And we were like, yeah, no, this is sad. And we had a great lawyer who kind of, who worked pro bono with us on this, and we said, no, we're not taking this down, and came out with a whole line of clothing, and then I filed for the trademark on FedNow for clothing, which the Federal Reserve doesn't have. They had it on everything else. So now I hopefully, fingers crossed, you could get the trademark so then I could sue the Federal Reserve for clothing. I don't know if that'll work like that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And became the number 2 selling kind of product that we've ever released. Yeah. So, but once again, you can make a wrong move and, you can find yourself in a lot of court. I mean, like, look, I have a lot of sympathy for Peter McCormick. I mean, he took on, the truth was because he was British, or whatever in those court systems, he was kind of really exposed there. I mean, this was a financial hardship for him.
I remember like sitting down talking to him, and he was like, I could lose everything. Like it was like,
no, I mean, that could absolutely,
really?
I mean,
he's like, oh yeah, it's just the fees alone were like astronomical.
Right. I mean, that's what they try to do with silencing. And once again, this is where a media company they couldn't come after us as a media company.
Yeah.
Right. There were certain protections we had, certain insurances that we had. And obviously being a US-based media company, there's certain value we have there. So I think that was...
I think that's your wife calling.
Is that my phone? Oh, shit. I was like, who leaves a phone on? And I looked down, like, that's my phone. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So look, that's why it's important to have... now CoinDesk was acquired by an exchange as well.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Who acquired CoinDesk?
I don't know. Yeah. Some like bull. All these exchanges have weird bulls as their exchanges because they think that's like creative.
Yeah.
Because like, well, here's a bull, we're tough, right? So not really that creative, but I think one of them bought it. So I think that there's it's difficult because also someone needs to hold the rest of the press and media accountable for when some of these stories come out. So we have a series called FUD Fighters, for example. So when the UN report comes out, the UN university is like, like Bitcoin mining uses more water than the world, right? And you're like, well, how's that possible? And then the problem is what media does is you can see, it's a coordinated attack. They'll put this article out. Every press release goes out. Every traditional media is like, Bitcoin's not green. Well, who's fighting back on that, right? And so do you know how much money we have to invest in telling that story? And okay, we have to break down, does this actually make sense, right? Bitcoin doesn't have a PR department. There's no, and the problem is that's where the press is getting away with it because they're not, someone from NBC is like, well, we want to tell this side of the story. And we asked this really random person who will represent Bitcoin in this case, like, what do you think? And make it look like it's stupid, right? So there's no press. They're used to asking a PR company. Sorry, the PR office of a brand. Yeah, that's what they do. There is no one to do it. So they get away with just, being able to attack. And someone needs to punch back. And that's going to be us.
I've seen that so clearly with stuff, the hit pieces done on El Salvador. The crazy thing is they get so many of just the normative facts wrong. I'm like, do you even fact check anything? No, that's not the name of that city, or that's not the it's so off base, but then one entity puts it out and everybody else just repopulates it under their own, header. Right. And it's
look, and this is...
Then it's truth. Then people think it's truth because, oh no, it was in Forbes. It says that El Salvador is falling apart because of Bitcoin. And you're like,
and look, and we're at a sad point. I was back in the day, I was very proud to work for a media company, and I was been horribly disappointed with what media companies have become. And truthfully, they're not even willing to. Number one, when they get things wrong, they don't manage to ever say they did. Yeah. And they weirdly want to protect all the other media companies, not protect the ability to tell a good story, which is shocking. So we're watching, media companies that are unwilling to call each other out on where the facts actually are. The good and bad about Bitcoiners is Bitcoiner will call you out on everything. So they will.
That.
They'll destroy. And I don't get mad about it, right? Yeah. I'm like, okay, passionate group of people want to do it. Now, I get I think it's lame when a couple of people are like, everyone at Shitcoin Magazine sucks, and you guys all suck, and you know what? Fuck you. I'm going somewhere else, and I'm like, and a lot of us please do. If you found what's that other media company that's Bitcoin only? Oh, there's none. Okay, good. Please find them. The market's open. Go ahead, right? And it's sometimes it's a little bit aggravating because there's a lot of work. But the truth is, at our company, we don't do probably a good job of communicating the work that kind of goes in behind the scenes. All that we're doing is we think our proof of work, whether it's the conference itself or whether it's our product, we don't talk about how what it takes to build our company. All the other companies love to tell you all day how hard it is for them to build their company and how great they are, right? We don't do that. And I don't need to have
people think you just lucked out. You got this, the conference that just dropped out of the sky and
here you go. Yeah. It's the conference is special, and obviously I think Brandon Green, who does an amazing job running it, and you should absolutely have him here, and Justin, who did.
You guys need to get the whole Bitcoin Inc. team down to El Salvador.
I know,
really.
I know. I think we made a detour.
Spend at least a week down here, so everybody understands what's going on here.
I think if Max is down here, right?
Yeah,
which he is.
He is.
See, the problem is you have such a great cheerleader with Max, but maybe he'll have to do a baptism for the whole Bitcoin Magazine team or something. Maybe we made a detour. We were supposed to come here and then made a detour in Puerto Rico. Unfortunately. But I think when we're thinking about the team that works on it, a lot of things are going to spring from the kind of core that Bitcoin Magazine has. And, David Tyler, a couple of other founders who, if they were smart business people, they would have closed this up a long time ago, right? There's a reason why when Bitcoin Magazine was first started that it lasted, the team that worked on it for 2 years and then kind of gave it up, and another team bought it and gave it up, right? Didn't make financial sense, right? So there has to be a certain level of just grit.
Yeah.
And, not listening to anyone else that allows someone to try to push forward with this.
Well, and it's ideological. It's not just about making money. You got to make enough money to keep the doors open, but if you were in it just to make money, you'd be doing something else.
The sad thing is I always like the difference is I like to look at the guys, the founders, be like, hey, would it just been smart for you guys just to bought Bitcoin and never done any of this and not work? If you guys didn't work and buy it, you'd be so much, we've been, if it was about the money, you would have been fine, right? But, obviously there's a passion behind this and look, that's what the whole team has, right? The biggest hack for a Bitcoin company ever is that your company culture is Bitcoin. So I don't think we're like the best managed company in the world, but you know what our company culture is? It's the values of Bitcoin. It's perfect. What a perfect filter for people that come in. What a perfect filter for what we believe in. We have people work all around the world at our company are totally different. There's such a level of kind of respect and conversation that automatically happens because we value Bitcoin that, you're looking at someone who you're working with, you have the same passion, you're doing, you care about the same things, you value these certain things, these kind of core principles that kind of Bitcoin that are with individuals, but yet everyone's different, right? You'll have the super rah-rah American conservative next to like someone who, just left the Bernie Sanders campaign, but, versus someone who's like, I would like to shadowly take down the Federal Reserve and topple all governments, right? And yet somehow, there's an absolute respect when working with each other, and everyone brings something kind of different to the table there. So that part of it I really like. I think that's been a saving grace for our company. I'm not sure if that's the way for all Bitcoin companies, because sometimes they kind of maybe their mission's Bitcoin, but their mission is also their direct company. So their way of looking at things, like this is exactly how we have to do it, and you're with our company or against our company. And for us, like we know a lot of people are against us sometimes, and that's fine. Like we've been around for 12 years. We were here before you, and we'll be here after you, right? And that's fine. But the to sit there and I think really allow for different voices. That's something we've always done. Whether people choose to read that or not, I don't care, right? We'll always make sure we're a platform to have these different types of voices in the space, and it's important for that. Like Bitcoin's Bitcoin's an important thing to allow people to have conversations, what it can be, what it could be, what it should be, what it technically can and cannot do, what it morally can and cannot do, what it politically can and cannot do, right? Like no one speaks for Bitcoin. We just talk about it all the time, right? So, people want us to, they try to, it's tough because as someone who understands there's a delicate balance that we have, we're not supposed to speak for what Bitcoin is. No one is, right? But yet then people get mad when we don't speak about the right thing about what Bitcoin is. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. And that can happen in our conference for people that we choose to speak, or that can happen for what we put on, on who we choose to have stories about or not have stories about. But once again, I think it's important to make sure that people are still curious and people, it's not about like being respectful. I'm saying don't yell at, don't yell at me on Twitter. I mean, you can yell at me on Twitter all the time. I don't care. But I think it's more about what we're looking for is there's people who come and work for us. Like I get a little frustrated. I'm like, these are the people who come work for us and they're doing an amazing job. And, they really love this space and they have their own personal views on what Bitcoin is, right?
Well, we were talking before, even the recent controversy has been Ordinals, and I'm sure even at Bitcoin Magazine, there's people all over the board as far as how they view Ordinals as a positive or a negative or a neutral for Bitcoin.
And like, isn't that the point?
Yeah.
Isn't it the point to have different point of views? I mean, we can have an argument what technically can happen, what technically can't happen, what Bitcoin is supposed to be because you said it is versus what Bitcoin is. I'm someone who doesn't own a single ordinal, has never bought an ordinal, has said you should buy an ordinal. That's the majority of the viewpoint at Bitcoin Magazine. But the overwhelming majority of viewpoint at Bitcoin Magazine is we should have the right to be able to talk about what this is. We should be able to, we have a platform where people can share their opinions if they, as a contributor, if they think it's good for Bitcoin or bad for Bitcoin. Why would we not?
Yeah.
Why would we not try to provide some information? I think it's weak-minded people who say, don't talk about this. Don't let anyone see you talk about this, right? Like, just don't talk about it. It's not like it exists. Like, if you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. And then you look around and you go, there's like every other media company out here talking about this. Like, you think now that they're not going to, it's like they're not going to go to CoinDesk and Cointelegraph or anywhere else. Now, if they believe that Bitcoin Magazine has a position, that's understandable where we should not have a position. Have we sold some ordinals of our cover? We have. I like them. I think that's great. People want to buy them, great. I don't see that. That's not value for me, but there's value for other people. I think they have the right to buy certain things. And we did work on something called Rare BTC, where it was a brokerage where people who had inscriptions were trying to sell them, trying to match those up. It was, once again, as you're kind of going to discovery of what is Ordinals. Like, people came to Bitcoin there because they were curious, right? I was interested by some of it. You're reading it. Okay, not for me. What's the value? Do I understand when people are saying, this feels very crypto-y and NFT? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can understand people's concerns about block space, and that, once again, we've written about that. I can understand people's concerns about noobs getting wrecked on investing in, buying NFTs and thinking they're going to go up. I mean, that's obviously something that we don't ever want to do. I mean, even when Liquid came out, Liquid, and they're doing their kind of, NFTs, everyone it was like, you have to be on it. If you're really a Bitcoin company, you have to support Blockstream's Liquid, you have to be on it. And we didn't, right? It's not really on, but this is on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the problem. We just cover Bitcoin. As much as people tell us that it's not Bitcoin, it's on Bitcoin. We can cover that. If they have concerns about other parts of our business in terms of how that business operates, they have every right to be skeptical about that and to talk about it and send us an article, right?
Yeah.
I'm just here on the Bitcoin.
I think it's good to have critics. It's good to have people calling you out, and like I said, some people go over the top and are just rude, and that usually doesn't get anywhere. But it's
totally fine. Yeah. It makes sense. Now, people are critical about things they care about. Like, I know we kind of joke, like, yeah, we didn't luck into getting this, but like, I feel lucky that I'm at Bitcoin Magazine. Yeah. I feel like I had a long history, a long career, and I feel lucky that I'm in this position right now. Do I feel that you owe a unique obligation to your readers? There's people who pretend like they're readers and say, I'm canceling my subscription for the 8th time. I'm like, you never subscribe, but okay. But you have to owe it to be critical of yourself. You have to owe it to be critical of the media outlet that you put out there. You do. Or you're going to become like a cult blog pamphlet, and that's not the point. Yeah. And by the way, like, if you think we're not going to fight back or whatever, do you want your media company to be weak? Like, a fight with someone on Twitter is going to be nothing. If we believe that Twitter's going to do, Bitcoin's going to do what we think it's going to do, what fight do we have ahead of us? It's much bigger. That's fine. I don't need you to agree with me on this or that part. I'm hoping you're there for when we actually have to lean our shoulders in and have to go for some fight, because it ain't going to be Cointelegraph or CoinDesk, right? No. Ain't going to be Forbes Crypto. They ain't going to do it for you, right? You can hate me on certain things, that's fine. But when the fights that matter, I hope that you're there. I hope that you're not saying, I don't agree with these things that Bitcoin Magazine is doing, so I'm never going to help them out again. I'm like, whatever. But speaking of agreeing on Bitcoin Magazine, here's my favorite story that no one knows. So this is the cover of the El Salvador issue. This was the first time we ever went to the reprint, right?
Which, I didn't realize that was the first physical, going back to physical editions.
So if we're called Bitcoin Magazine, we should have
a magazine.
A magazine, yeah. Right? And this was an unbelievable cover. Aaron Von Worden, who's one of the best writers out there, he spent like 3 months down here in El Salvador. Which, once again, the nice thing about doing a print publication is you have time to tell a story. So sometimes people just expect, like, I want my Twitter stuff now. I want the story now. And online, you have like a 12-hour window, and that's why half the people get all those stories wrong. And with print, you're not, it's not getting something that's a week old of a story. Yeah. So, Aaron had time. I think he did a great job of showing both sides. This wasn't like a rah-rah.
It wasn't a rah-rah at all. No, but I thought he was fair about it.
But that's Aaron, because Aaron's Dutch as well. Yeah. So, there's not, He's factual. Like, here's all the facts, which makes him a great reporter. And the funny thing was, this was one of the photos in the issue, and I was working on, this was supposed to be the cover. I just want to point that out. This right here, with you on it. So there you go. Not to kiss your butt, but there you go. Right? There was you on it. It was like, our battle, we good and evil, right? And this was the cover that we worked on. We had an El Salvador, cartoon artist make it. And everyone was like, man, it was cool, but no, it's not going to work. And then this image was in one of the articles, and Pete Rizzo, was like, we had our prints up, and it's the first time we were going reprint. So all the prints are everywhere, and like, it makes no sense to do a print publication. So financially or mentally, like this is just a dumb idea, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. You have to really love it. And he saw this image and he's like, "This is it. This is the cover." And he's like just holding it up. He's like, "Does this look like the cover?" Right? And I think it was like we were going on for I don't know how many hours. We were in the office and it was like, I remember no one could fit in the office because everyone was like in town. So there's actually in Nashville, there's a sofa store underneath us. And there's a sofa store, and luckily, like, we paid off the person at the sofa store. We're like, "Hey, go out for a lunch," and like close the store. And like we're just sitting, like everyone's just sitting in all these like luxury sofas or something like that. And we're like arguing, sitting on sofas in the sofa store of what the cover should be. And once again, those are romantic. You know, they're romantic about those times now because it was right. That was the right cover. And
no, that was the right cover, 100%. When I saw that, I was like, they nailed it. And you know what is amazing? So Don Run, who's in this, he helped build this podcast studio right here. Like
this studio.
This studio being paid in Bitcoin.
Thank you very much.
Yes, he's on the construction crew.
That's
I mean,
cool.
he's one of the hardest workers, always like, you know, with a smile on his face and getting paid in Bitcoin. So it's awesome. It's so awesome to see and when we were able to show him, we're like, "Dude, you're on the cover of this magazine that's like all over airports and bookstores around the U.S. and the world." And so I think it was kind of a proud moment for him too.
Cool. You know, and Bitcoin is something, you know, that I thought that you look into his eyes, that's going to tell you a story, right? And one of the things that we're lacking in Bitcoin is actually real photos and real images, and actually even worse. And thank God we didn't do that cartoon cover, because now with AI, everything is just AI Bitcoin art. I understand it's very inexpensive to do it. You want to try to do it. There's such a fee that it goes into to try to capture real photos. And honestly, Bitcoin is supposed to actually help real people.
I mean, this is like National Geographic quality.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys captured it there.
And look, and it's raw, and it takes you. Think how many at-bats it takes you to get that, right? Like, and you try to recapture it again, it doesn't always work.
No.
And so, you know, one of the things that the conference done an amazing job with, and, you know, at Bitcoin Magazine, you know, we have to fight to get be a Getty image media company so that we can take photos, so we can make sure it gets distributed, and it sounds silly, but every other media company is going to use the Getty images or image licensing service from what happened at our conference to talk about, whether that's Saylor or whether that's with, you know, Jack Dorsey. So it sounds, you know, it doesn't sound like a big deal to everyone else, but like no one understands the information war that's currently happening behind the scenes. Because guess what? Usually it's a major company that's doing it, has a huge budget and has everything else. Like essentially you have a bunch of passionate people that are trying to sit there and work on the media narrative that is happening for Bitcoin. One of those things, like, here's where the image rights that go to licensing, how other media companies. How do you fight against other media companies about this? How do you secure videotaping rights in a Norwegian court to make sure that trial, so you can have images of, you know, Craig Wright on the stand, right? And once again, if Bitcoin wants to be, you know, if Bitcoin wants to get to that next level, you need to have people who are willing to kind of have those battles. And a media company is, I think, one of the, you know, the most important warriors in this game.
I agreed. We were talking earlier about, and something you're passionate about, and something I'm definitely in agreement with, the importance of the marketing of just the Bitcoin symbol and how that's come to be. So I don't know if we can pull that up. And I didn't even realize that this was kind of the history of that. So would love to hear you kind of expand on that, on why you think it's so important and really underappreciated and utilized right now within the Bitcoin space.
Yeah. So, like, okay, take a step back. Why am I happy I'm here? Why did I bring my family here? My kids, who think which is always embarrassing. My kid's like, "My dad's the president of Bitcoin." I'm like, Bitcoin Magazine, and it's not really a thing. It doesn't, but, you know, I feel like I have to make sure this works so my kids are proud of me. But, you know, your kids are going to be proud of what you do and what you work on. They doodle Bitcoin everywhere, right? They do the Bitcoin logo. They put the stickers on everything. You know, to them, it's a symbol, it's a brand, something that means something. You know, in our town where we live, there's no one that has Bitcoin things anywhere, and that's okay. They came here. We walked around, right? And once again, I've been here before, but only when you guys kind of when the law, you know, was first proposed. But
we won't talk about who you came with.
That's okay. I was doing my job. You know, I think that when you come around, you look around what you've done and what everyone else has done, what you've helped kind of create here at Bitcoin Beach. you're seeing the Bitcoin be everywhere. You're seeing the art side of it. You're seeing it actually incorporate people to embrace it. It was kind of fun to watch my kids be like, oh, look there, look, and look at this sticker, look at Satoshi's bar, right? And this is just a real world proving ground here at Bitcoin Beach of like how the Bitcoin Bee is actually used. And I think that you've had some great speakers here who understand the finance and why Bitcoin is money and the technology standpoint, the political standpoint. But like you look at every podcast, no one talks about the value of the marketing of it and the Bee. Why? Because probably Bitcoiners don't, they think a logo means marketing, which means scam, and which means something else. But the oddity that of all the scam coins in the entire world, like the Bitcoin Bee is the greatest logo, and no one's ever even been able to come close. Like, I don't want to say how much of the success comes in, but
when looking, and I didn't even realize this, looking at those like there, you can see like I don't know if it would have made it if it was that.
It wouldn't have. No one wants to say that. Guess what? Satoshi designed wouldn't have made it. Worst thing Satoshi ever did was that logo, right? Like BC, literally, like what, before Christ, right? Like, I mean, what's it for Satoshi? It'll be like BS, what that is. First off, just aesthetically horrible, right? And I get it. Once again, brilliant people aren't really great designers. Like the art and science, the reason why there's a separation, right? And then so I think that you look at 2010, I mean, once again, that B was pretty great.
Yeah.
Get it, right? I mean, the dollar lines on it, well done, brilliant. But it was gold, and like, aren't we supposed to try to replace gold?
Yeah.
Like, isn't the point? And then you just have this like little orange B that's like tilted 14% forward to always show progress. And it was just, and people don't even understand like the two-tone, like only having two colors, like how much that actually deals with like printing costs and everything else. Like, this was perfect, right? Circular. Everyone has tried to copy it, right? And even better yet, which I always find funny, is this went down to a vote on the Bitcoin message on the Bitcoin message board.
I didn't
look
know
at
that.
it. Oh, there's a vote. It's like, which one should we use? Because everyone's like, I think the 210, like, this one kind of sucks. We hate gold. And there was a bunch of like different versions, and like this one like was the clear winner, but like 180 votes. So you're trying to have like 100 something votes allowed for a brand that, by the way, the fact that that brand, and once again, when BitBoy, not Cage Fighter BitBoy, but other BitBoy, who was the designer, submitted it, was like, hey man, this is free for everyone to use, like for commercial use, like go ahead. I believe personally that this is going to be the greatest brand and logo identity like ever built. And it's one that's open source. So there's beautiful companies called Nike and Red Bull and Rolex. You know what you think of when you think of that brand, right? Well, they own the rights. So if you called this Red Bull Beach, literally like the Red Bull helicopter would come by and lawyers would parachute out to just sue the shit out of you, right? Like that's what would happen if you illegally use their logo.
I have a quick, a funny story. So I had a food business. That's where I came from, and we would do stuff at big events. And so we did one year deep fried Starbucks. We'd always do these weird things, and it was on like Good Morning America, and it was like blew up, and it was like a day later, lawyer shows up, cease and desist. It was like, why they track this down that quick? So definitely, I understand what you're saying.
They spent hundreds of millions of dollars to invest in this logo to tell a story. So like, this is what you think of it. We don't want anyone to touch it or anyone to look at it or do anything else with that. And then instead, Bitcoin is like, here's an open source logo that here's our values. And in fact, if you use it, not only will lawyers not come, but people will come.
Yes.
And I think what you did here at Bitcoin Beach is something to talk about was like, you use the Bitcoin logo, you use the Bitcoin name, right? I know it was cool for everyone back in the day to like come up with crypto something, or, they come up with bebop or whatever, they always weird names, right? Bitcoin Beach, get it. This is the great, it's a logo that I consider like almost like it's a free franchise, right? Like anyone can put this logo on it, but all you have to do is make sure that you adopt the currency, that you adopt some of the values that come along with Bitcoin. And obviously people fight the most because they say, this is what I believe Bitcoin to mean, or this is what I believe. But you see these Bitcoin bars that are opening, PubKey I think is my favorite bar. They try to be cool, not Bitcoin branded, because they're super cool New Yorkers. But you go in there, it's like this great ass Bitcoin shrine, and versus sometimes it was called the Bitcoin bar. It might not be as cool, but Bitcoin Beach, I think you actually lucked into a beautiful name here. It's a very obvious name, but like I think what's also special is anyone can name that, right? And you didn't trademark it, you didn't try to control it, and there's something beautiful that can come out of what's seen here, because it's called Bitcoin, it's attracting people. I'm wearing this Heat jersey. This is an Australian baseball team. I didn't even know Australia had baseball teams, right? I'm a diehard New York Yankee fan, right? Like I would never wear another jersey. But I look at this, I was like, this is pretty dope, man. it's got Bitcoin bees on it, right? And essentially, like, is it now that like it's a team identity, right? Like you are, and there's a lot of value to that. And the fact is that when other companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars to invest in logo, it's the community that has completely invested in this logo. You understand the values, right? You understand what it means, and
you don't have to explain it to people that know. Like once you know, it's like, okay.
And it comes with
I know
the
what
community.
those people stand for.
Man, accept the currency.
Yeah.
You accept that you get the community, right? I mean, it's kind of a joke, but at Bitcoin Magazine, we put the Bitcoin logo on Crocs. We like talk to Crocs. We're like, yo, let's do it. Let's do something, right? And we have Bitcoin Crocs that we sold, 2,100 Bitcoin Crocs, right? Like, I thought it was pretty fun. Everyone who doesn't like Crocs, still some bought it, like, you know what? Because once again, you kind of love that brand.
I don't like Crocs. My son loves Crocs, and I was like, I showed him. He's like, those are dope.
Yo, Bitcoin is for the kids, man. And so I think that, that part of it is, what makes it interesting is, and I think Bitcoiners maybe don't appreciate this, like there's a culture war that's happening for Bitcoin with everyone else, right? You've had brilliantly smart people tell you why technically Bitcoin works, why it mathematically works, why it's financially going to work, and all these important things. You're not talking about the marketing cultural reasons why Bitcoin works. And it's also sometimes our biggest problem as Bitcoiners, because that's why when there's all these other scams, right? Send me PayPal, I'll give you Bitcoin, right? They're trading off the Bitcoin name. So you can't control who uses it, right? So the downside to having an open source brand is that anyone can use the name Bitcoin. Now, you can't really trade, the trademark rights come in interesting with Bitcoin itself. But there's really a unique opportunity here. And I personally believe, like, we worked to get like Pez to be the Bitcoin Pez dispensers. These are little things where you're showing Bitcoin in everyone's life, and there's things that people care about, and now the kind of Bitcoin version of it is just actually showing a more important dominance, or why it's culturally, something to be important, be proud of, right, and sit there and put on your shelf. And they're not just tchotchkes. It's a symbolism of like different things that have their own unique value and community. Kind of saying, hey, look, we recognize that you at Bitcoin have built something special, and we want to kind of commemorate that by making a version of it. I think that there's some cultural value there, and there's things that Bitcoiners, you never feel proud wearing Crocs, but you feel proud that like there's Bitcoin Crocs, right? And so it's kind of like a little like, okay, cool, this makes me feel good about it, and that's okay. You can do that, and if that helps finance a media company, that's even crazier that is how you have to do it. But it's one of the ways.
How many pairs did you guys sell of those? Do you know?
We said we were going to do 2,100.
Okay.
Man, Bitcoin, you're stuck with 21. Once again, talk about great logo and brand. We all know number 21. Everything has to be 21. Yeah. So, yeah.
So did they sell out?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
It is. It's fun. And then we did a pre-sale, and then afterwards, everyone's like, well, where can I get it? We're like, well, we sold out. And they're like, well, we don't understand that. So I was like, well, you're supposed to understand scarcity. I thought that was like the whole thing, everybody. So, no, I think, like I said before, looking around here at Bitcoin Beach, I like that you're seeing the kind of Bitcoin bee be used in the wild, and that people take a lot of pride in it. And, one of the articles on like a Bitcoin Traveler's Guide to Ukraine. We're trying to show different countries and how these Bitcoin. Ukraine had, and this was before the war, had one of the higher Bitcoin, I think it was one of the largest percentage of Bitcoin holders for, based on population. We tried to talk to everyone about Bitcoin, the place that said they accepted Bitcoin. No one wanted to talk about it because they're like, you with government? Why are you talking about Bitcoin, right? I'm like, you say you're a hotel that accepts Bitcoin. They're like, why are you asking? Who's asking? Who's asking? I have no Bitcoin. Who are you asking? Right? And like, you were taking it back. We're like, well, how's this? You found ways like, well, yes, I will accept your Bitcoin. Like we got a guy to we rented a tank from a guy using Bitcoin, right? Like it was like.
You guys rented a tank.
We did. We rented a tank. It was a lot of fun. And the difference was, so people don't want to talk about it, right? And obviously understand they think that this is government, someone spying or someone listening in. Totally understand. A lot of Bitcoiners we know don't want to say that they have Bitcoin. Yeah. When I print this magazine, here's the problem: we have to put it in a cardboard box, right? Send it out to everyone because we can't do it in standard mail. So like where they put the crappy little thing on it, which is 38 cents to send that out because it's media mail, because people don't want to see that they're getting Bitcoin magazine. So I have to pay $3.82 to put it in a cardboard box, right? And one time we even put like something nice on it, and people were like screaming, "It's like, don't tell anyone," like it's like top secret. I'm like, okay. So we have to put this like box just to give it to people because they don't want to show it. Fine. Now you come here, and there's a celebration here, right? I'm seeing the Bitcoin be everywhere, right? And there's something
that freaks
about
Bitcoiners out. They're like, wait, people are wearing that guy has Bitcoin sticker on his car or his motorcycle, or they're wearing shirts. Aren't they worried they're gonna get robbed? I'm like, no, this Bitcoin's the money of the poor people here. Like it's what average people use. They're not. It's not associated with the way Bitcoiners from other people think about it. Like they use this day to day.
And I mean, also, let's think about that. You saw President Bukele use the Bitcoin B as almost, the greatest, campaign, country marketing campaign that's ever happened, right? The Bitcoin B that sat on, Miss Universe on her dress, right? Yeah. Which like this cool way of saying like, this is how connected we are to this Bitcoin B. It's not just Bitcoin Beach, find Bitcoin legal tender. I mean, this person, Bukele made it part of his campaign, how he decides to run a city and run a country, but like that Bitcoin logo is being, used as almost a rebranding. We understand the values of Bitcoin are now somehow the values of El Salvador, and it's absolutely fascinating. So, I think that that part of it's beautiful to see. I mean, this is the power of what that kind of Bitcoin B can stand for. It's not, it's not just, there's a lot more to it that I think maybe traditional Bitcoiners don't appreciate or respect enough because it isn't their world, or they think marketing is cringe. But logos, not all marketing is just logos. Logos and identity are kind of that shield, that superhero.
They matter. They do.
They do. That people want to adopt it. I mean,
I think if we would have called this something different than Bitcoin Beach, there's a good chance it wouldn't have gotten the media coverage and the other things that helped keep it going and sustaining it. Because if it was something like kind of that didn't roll off the tongue, they'd be like, "Oh, that sounds weird." But it was just like Bitcoin Beach. That sounds familiar, just even if they hadn't heard of it before.
Bitcoiners are going to come here, and look, Bitcoiners don't like spending Bitcoin because stack sats all day, right? Got it. It feels special to come here and spend Bitcoin.
Yeah,
it does. And every time you get to ask, I think if you're a true Bitcoiner, you should always be asking. Every time I go out anywhere, New York, New Jersey, I'm like, you accept Bitcoin? Which I know they don't.
Yeah.
And they're like, let me check. I'm like, go check, right? Like, so I just want to always have constantly ask everywhere, like, you should accept Bitcoin. But, here you go, hey, can I pay in Bitcoin? Like, yeah, of course. And there's a smile, and
they're like, Lightning or on-chain?
And it feels good, right? Like, and that feels special. And you want to come to a place where, something that, and look, for a lot of people, you might talk online, but, meeting people in person is obviously extremely important. We're big fans of not just our conference, but all the conferences. All the Bitcoin meetups are super important, right? Like you need to feel like you're not alone and you're not yelling into the angry void. And especially something that you might love that your mother-in-law is like, why are you putting all your time and money into this? This is stupid, right? Like I think it's special to kind of go somewhere where it's celebrated like it is here. And it starts with not just accepting Bitcoin, because once again, that's digital. There's nothing to see there, right? Like the logo is one of the closest things that we have, to like what is the representation, and you can see that it feels welcoming, it feels exciting. Like I got excited. I walked around, I was like, look at that, it's so great, it's so cool. Like you even have all the Bitcoin bees like on trash cans, right? Like you did some initiative, right?
Yeah. We were trying to clean up the community, and there was no public trash cans before, so we did Bitcoin branded trash cans.
Cool.
Bitcoin
branded trash cans, right? Like how great is that? I know a lot of people are going to want to put their Bitcoin magazine into the Bitcoin branded trash cans, and they call us trash medium. But I do like the Bitcoin branded trash cans. And once again, that part of it is where also it seems like a community that's excited to show off that logo. And I don't know if Bitcoin's had that, right? This community is excited to show off that logo. They take pride in that logo. They know that logo means something, right? I mean, that's an extremely powerful thing. And that's why, obviously, this picture I thought was great. We had that shirt on. And it just, man, I looked at it, I was like, this is the best ambassador the Bitcoin has.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
No, I don't think, the problem is I don't think you guys are ever going to have a cover that's as good as
you
this
screwed
one.
us over. you screwed us, look, Bitcoin Beach screwed us over because it was so special, and now everyone expects there to be another one. I'm like, okay, there's not. And like, look, you've already screwed up the naming conventions. There's like Bitcoin Jungle, right, which is next to a beach, but they can't call themselves that, right?
Yeah.
Anyone who calls themselves Bitcoin Beach, and then
There's Bitcoin Mountain, Bitcoin Jungle, Bitcoin, Kasi. We've got them. Yeah, they're like proliferating all around the world.
Right, and like the same. Look, think of it as it's a form of flattery. When we came out with Bitcoin Magazine, that's like when Cointelegraph came out because they tried to go for an older form of communication or something else like that. That's flattery. Like everyone has like a consensus has like their magazine. I'm like, that makes no sense. But so think of it as flattery. But I would say,
oh, we love it. We love seeing like the Bitcoin circular economies are spreading in the way they were supposed to, decentralized. Like we don't control them. We try to help and share ideas. We actually learn a lot from them. They're doing things. We're like, wow, we never thought of that. That's great. So that's what's so exciting to see in that space.
Yeah, and I guess Bitcoin Beach is lucky they have you, because I know a lot of other people that would try to control that. They would try to, hey, this is how you should create your own Bitcoin Beach, or this is what you could do. And I don't think that would kind of hurt. Like I don't know, it could maybe give you more whatever value or whatever other things you're looking for. But it seems like you built something here where people feel empowered. And it's an exciting brand that people want to come and copy. And look, there's a lot more pressure on you. There's a lot of pressure on you and a lot of pressure on Bitcoin Beach to be something that everyone thinks it's supposed to be, right? Which isn't easy.
We just tell them that's not what we are.
Well, I've already spent one day and you like relaxed in the hammock, and I'm like not used to relaxing, so I'm pacing back and forth, and like so I feel like
I was telling you the one story. The guy's like, "You guys aren't helping out the community. You haven't built a hospital yet." And I'm like, "What?" We're this small grassroots Bitcoin thing. We're not building hospitals.
It's also tough because like once again, we're the Bitcoin conference, so people like think like well, you're the conference for Bitcoin, or like Bitcoin Magazine. People are like, you must have a lot of money, and I'm like, jokes
you should
on
do
you.
this. You should do this. You should pay for this.
They're like, you should charge all this money because you have $1 trillion. You're Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't think you even understand how this is done, and we don't have a lot of money. But I think look, it's there's a lot of people are watching what you're doing. We understand when people watch what we do, and you're gonna always try to be better and try to learn from those things. I'm sure that there'll be something that you do that the rest of the community doesn't like, or or whatnot. But they can come here and build. I think that's what you've allowed them to do, and they could build their own Bitcoin Beach, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, we love the more the better. And even here with the team, I mean, the reality is anybody who's here, and Paco can tell you, I'm not the one doing the work. It's the local team doing all the work. Ramon's the one leading the charge on all these things. So I get to just be along for the ride. It's which is fun. It's fun to just see everybody's gifts be like lifted up, and these people that young people I've known since they were like young kids that never thought that they would go anywhere in life have now gone to university and now are back like teaching computer classes and the classes that we do. And so it's been just so fun seeing this all kind of keep moving up and forward, and the country in general just feels like moving forward. It's not perfect. It's still a developing country. There's still challenges, but people here have a sense that tomorrow's going to be better than yesterday, which is a unique thing these days in the world. You don't find that a lot of places. So,
and that's the issue. You don't have that hope. What are you working on? What are you trying to do? Look, I'm from New York City, and I love my city, but it's like you look at it, and we moved out, before COVID, but it's embarrassing, I think, what's happened there. And you know what? The hope is kind of getting lost, and momentum hurts. It hurts for generations, right? And I think that's...
it's hard to get back when you lose it.
It's hard to get back when you lose it. So that's why momentum is important, and holding on to your values are important, obviously, and building things, and then sometimes apologize when you do things wrong.
So tell us about what people should be looking forward to with the magazine and the conference. What are the things you're excited about? And
sure.
And then we got to go because Roman's cooking some steaks for us. So
yes, perfect. So real quick, number one, what to look forward to the conference. I'm personally excited. Why? Because we're going to be in Nashville, and for all the people who are upset by that, guess what? You've gone to Miami 3 times already.
Yeah.
Like
are people upset by that?
I don't know. People always get upset about everything, right?
Yeah. It's kind of over Miami. I'm glad you guys moved to Nashville.
Thank you. The people that are upset by it were the people that like
already booked their rooms for next year.
Well, it turns out it was like all these other companies that we wouldn't let sponsor the conference, who then like like Circle or something like that tries to sponsor, like no. And then they like buy out a whole big, they buy out everything around us and jack up all the prices and sign 3-year leases. And we're like, haha, we're not coming back. And so I would say, look, I think Nashville was really exciting because I do believe this. Like, once again, we're here. Is El Salvador important? Did I want to come to El Salvador, or did I come here because there was great people around here and other Bitcoiners, right? This is going to be amazing. I'm always going to remember this is a great moment. We're going to teach the kids how to surf. It'll be great because there's other Bitcoiners here. So why would we not move the conference to a different city where now a lot of people haven't gotten Nashville?
Yeah.
You've never been. Great. You're going to be there with a bunch of Bitcoiners.
Bitcoin
the most
Park
fun.
Yeah.
Right. Bitcoin Park does a great job, which, going back to names, and they're not even a park, but Bitcoin Park, which is a great home for a lot of unbelievable Bitcoin events, and they do a great job. Rod and the team over there, but like, we're able to now show Nashville to people in a unique way, and then maybe, I don't know, next year you can go somewhere else, right? Like, I personally look as like, we got to show the world Bitcoin. We got to show Bitcoiners the world, right? Like there's we know that there's not just the commercial element of it. People make it this like their summer vacation. So once again, it's during the summer, which is nice, a little bit more family friendly. There'll be a lot more activities for kids to do there. It's going to be a tremendous amount of fun. I mean, I get a stress out for our conference team of how they're trying to, plan and make all that stuff possible, but it's going to be very impressive.
You guys need a circular Bitcoin economy stage. I'm going to put my advocate in for that right here.
Okay, so we look into that. Okay, good. So other things to add, maybe on the open source stage. And then second, in terms of what's happening with Bitcoin Magazine, to let everybody know, one, I think if you take a look at some of the journalists that we have kind of coming in, we're now, I think, building up as a media company for other talented journalists who are able to tell stories that are kind of adjacent to Bitcoin that we find to be important. So I'm very proud of that. We have a lot more issues coming out. We have a lot more reporters who we were able to have start and come in and tell those stories. Also, little thing is we're trying to expand internationally. So we've opened up offices in Switzerland and Ukraine. We're looking at other locations to kind of get this in additional languages. People are already naturally doing that. They're kind of stealing our content and doing it, but once again, we want that content to be out there.
Yeah.
So it's important. We're trying to open up offices faster that we can kind of staff them. So there's a lot of labor of love that goes into that. And also, I think that you're going to start seeing a lot more investigative journalism that's coming through this. That's important. It's not just about writing press releases that companies give you and say, this is how it's supposed to be, So that's been exciting to see grow. And then the most important is our halving. So if I'm here for the halving party, mostly because I have an award to give to someone, maybe. And then second, we're going to be having our halving live stream, which I want everyone to tune into. We're actually doing it on the halving, so 21 blocks before the halving it starts. We're counting down the top 21 moments of the epoch. We have spent months planning this. It is going to be the best live stream ever in Bitcoin history. So we are going to set the bar for when you take a look at what we did, I think, at the Bitcoin Magazine live desk at the conference. It was kind of really a turning point at, and this halving live stream is going to be quite exciting. I think this is going to be something Bitcoiners are going to be proud of. And it's going to be a fun celebration. It's not going to just be like educating people on stuff. So it's going to be this last epoch in review, which is going to be exciting. I mean, it could be at 1 o'clock in the morning. So like on April 20th. So it's been a wild ride to deal with that. So planning has been a disaster. And once again, just like you shouldn't print a magazine because it doesn't make sense, you shouldn't do a live stream on the Bitcoin timeline because it's a really hard thing to manage. But we do dumb, crazy things anyway because they're important, they're special.
So how can people subscribe to the magazine? What is the give us the value proposition of why they should become subscribers?
Do you know why they should? Because everyone's got a coffee table and they need a book to put on. More importantly, I would say, look at the design and the love that goes into this magazine. I don't think there's anything else like it. I don't think there's a better place that really tells Bitcoiner stories. And when people pick up the magazine, they realize that there's something going on. They realize that, hey man, this is not only people who are passionate about this, but there's something here that's special. I stand behind that. You can buy our magazine online. We can ship it to you in a brown box and no one knows you got it. A lot of bookstores do carry that. That's our print edition. You can obviously visit.
I've been surprised at how well distributed it is, like whether I'm in an airport and see it or Barnes and Noble or
Yeah, that once again, that's another big nightmare. And by the way, we have to ship it out of Canada. Once again, the amount of time that goes into this is doesn't make sense, but it's beautiful, it's great, and people yell us like, it's not in Uzbekistan yet. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And we've been shipping out of all through Europe. So once again, the print is one thing. Obviously online we have a lot of our content. You can follow us on X, on Bitcoin Magazine, where we have one of the largest handles. You can yell at me online all day at Mike Germano. So my job is to get yelled at.
Yeah,
totally cool.
perfect.
Do it all day. And once again, I think if you want to come to the conference, the Bitcoin conference, we have one coming up in Hong Kong. We have one coming up, our Nashville one. We have our one in Amsterdam, which will be our 3rd year, and then obviously in Abu Dhabi. At the end of December. What are the dates then? So the one in Abu Dhabi is 2 days after F1, the F1 championship. Okay. So it's gonna be fun.
So what are those
That's
dates?
December 7th or 8th.
December.
December.
Okay.
Hong Kong's
I'm glad you
early
decided
May.
not to have that one in the summer there.
Correct. Right. So we're having our summer conference in Nashville because we want to show everyone the El Salvador heat.
Yes,
so really
yes.
what we wanted to show is I've gone here as hot as it is in El Salvador. We're really bringing the El Salvador Bitcoin Beach spirit to Nashville. So look, once again, you can interact with us all there, and we want you to I really appreciate anyone who is a reader of ours. We really appreciate it. And if you want to contribute to the magazine, you have something they think is important to say, please share it. And that's it. Go Bitcoin.
All right. And where can they follow you? What's your Twitter handle?
Sure. So I'm not clever enough to have some silly name. So I'm just Mike Germano,
Okay.
MikeGermano. Right. And you can yell at me there all day long.
Perfect.
So that's the best place to find me.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Well, I am looking forward to the next week here and everybody coming in. It's going to be a fun one.
We're very excited. Thank you.
And once again, you need to get the whole team down here. Let's make this a priority.
We will get the whole Bitcoin Magazine team down here.
All right.
And
you heard it here.
I promise you that. And we'll be back here. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thanks.